One thing I never appreciated as far as what baseball players do is how difficult it is to sign your name to a baseball. A fan in Houston asked me to sign a baseball. It's hard. The thing's moving around, your pen, it's hard to grip the pen. So that's one thing.
So Ben, is this too much?
I think it's perfect.
I didn't know if I was geeking out too hard. I just love the Astros and grew up going to their games, and then to get to be with you is so exciting.
And even more appropriate, it's essentially the same jersey that George Springer is wearing on the original 2014 cover of SI, in which we predicted they were going to win in 2017.
See, it all comes full circle. How connected do you feel now to the Astros and Astros fans?
Well, a lot of people are giving me credit for some reason for this victory. I had nothing to do with it. All credit goes to the players who did it and the front office who put this team together.
Yeah, how do fans react to you now though when you get to meet them on your book tours?
I think I might have to move to Texas. That's how warm the reception's been.
I'm so glad to hear that. Cheers to that. And Texas
Cheers.
welcomes you, Austin included. So where did that journey all begin?
Well, it really came down to my having an open mind about what the Astros were doing. It's hard to remember now, but back in 2014, this team was bad. You know the name the Disastros, as everybody called them.
I know, it hurts.
So for Sports Illustrated, I wanted to come down and see exactly what they were up to. Why were they the worst baseball team in 50 years?
Yeah.
And what was the plan? Went in with an open mind, came away thinking that this was not a team that was run cynically or ineptly. This is a team that had a very strong plan as to how to turn itself from laughingstock to champion, and that's exactly what happened.
What about that access? How did you get access like that, and what did you see that prompted you on this journey?
It took a while. They're a secretive organization. They don't really want people to know what they're up to. I think that they were so tired of being killed from all quarters. They thought that maybe if there was someone who came in without an agenda could tell the story straight, then maybe that would be worth it for them. That's what I tried to do.
How cool. So for people not as familiar with this story, what is the prediction that you made and how did life unfold after that?
Well, look, I was just trying to write a story about the team. It wasn't supposed to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. There wasn't supposed to be a prediction attached to it. But after I wrote my story about this new way of winning the Astros were putting together, my editor at Sports Illustrated, Chris Stone, decided to put it on the cover, decided to put a very bold prediction that this terrible team would win the World Series in 2017 on the cover too. Wasn't so well received at first. There were a lot of skeptics out there. Started to turn around pretty quickly in 2015 when they shocked everybody by making the playoffs.
So 2017, how did you pick that year specifically?
Well, you know, in my time with the Houston front office, if you were listening carefully, they tended to mention 2017. So I started to get the idea this might have been a target by when their rebuild would really start to take effect. And then if you looked at the nucleus of players they had in place and the ages they would be 3 years later, Jose Altuve, George Springer, Carlos Correa would be 23, it seemed like this was when everything might shape up, if it was going to shape up at all.
So let's talk about the World Series. As that unfolded, what's going through your mind and what does that momentum buildup look like?
Well, look, I'm an impartial journalist, so whatever happens, happens. But I will admit that my heart was racing a few times, not just during the World Series, but when they went down 3-2 against the Yankees. It seemed like it might be a long shot, but this team did have an extra resilience that really carried it through. They did me a favor in Game 7, though, right? Racing out to a 5-0 lead by the second inning. It was a pretty easy coast on home from then.
Yeah, I need to know what your night looked like after they won Game 7.
Well, I was working. I had to file a story for Sports Illustrated, but certainly I couldn't believe, as I think a lot of people couldn't believe, that this thing had actually come true.
And we are all so happy it did here in Texas. How do you write a book where everybody kind of already knows the ending? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Titanic, right? Like, you know what's going to happen in the end. Really, I think what I tried to do is take you deep inside, take you to a depth into the organization that nobody's heard before. I also didn't want to tell it as a blow-by-blow recap. I think everybody knows what happened. I tried to create narrative threads that would come together in an exciting way at the end.
How do you think this book can relate to people even if they're not mega sports fans or Stros fans?
Well, I'm hearing from a lot of people who don't care about the Stros and don't care about baseball.
Do those people exist? Just kidding.
They apparently do. Who said they're taking a lot out of the book because of the nature of the process that I write about. You know, everybody knows about analytics, about metrics. Ever since Moneyball came out, the idea has been, hey, the numbers can describe situations better than people can. What the Astros did is they said, no, humans still have value. The human factor is still important. We're going to use all the analytics that we have, but they brought back in human gut and instinct and combined that to guide their decision making. That's really what gave them the edge.
So some good lessons and themes for everybody out there, it seems like.
That's right. I think this strategy can apply to healthcare, politics, business, really all sorts of fields that are struggling with trying to figure out how to properly use the world of data that we now have at our disposal. I didn't want the cover to look outdated though. I didn't want it to look old. I wanted it to look retro but also modern, which I thought also reflects the theme of the book. You know, you're really using some retro sources of information as far as scouts and what's inside the human heart, but combining it with the most modern of analytics and metrics.
And you did that so well. What did you learn about yourself through this process?
Man, well, I learned that it's very hard to write a book in a single winter,
right?
But I have to say the Astros actually inspired me in the writing process, because so much of what they did is focusing on process over outcome. So it would be very easy to sit there at my desk and imagine the day when I'm going to hold this in my hand, when the book's going to come out, people are going to read it. But you're not getting there without the daily and nightly process, brick by brick. So they really inspired me personally as well. But certainly, look, everybody is just so enthusiastic about this story. I think a lot of the passion that people have for Houston, for Texas, for the Astros, or at least some of it is being transferred to me. It's just been a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Is there pressure after this journey to do that again, or how are you approaching all that?
I'm just going to keep trying to tell stories like this. I'm not sure I'm going to make another prediction, although I have already predicted the Astros will win the World Series in 2018 as well, so I'm on the record on that.
So here we are.
But I'm still at Sports Illustrated, still writing stories that are about sports, but my goal is always to write them that can apply outside the lines, you know, really human stories that even people who aren't into baseball, aren't into sports can get a lot out of.
What about just predictions in life? Do people come up to you now like, give me some lotto numbers?
You know, I've been asked about 24 times for the Powerball numbers, and I've taken to saying, yes, I do know the Powerball numbers, but I'm not going to tell you.
Cheers to you, Ben. We sincerely appreciate you being here, and much congrats on a really rad book. Make sure you check it out, Astroball.